We are going to get moving. Just sign in if you haven't had a chance. If you didn't sign in, just do it on the way out the door. No big deal. And we'll get to the bottom of the name cards by the next meeting. So welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year, even though it is February, but this is our first meeting of the spring semester. And we've now made it past the third week mark, and so I'm hoping that everyone is in the same company as me, that I don't feel like I'm drowning anymore. I know all my students' names. We are moving forward this semester and getting ready to get all of our students out to their progress and graduation or next semester, all those wonderful things for our students. Okay, so a couple of updates that have happened since our last meeting in December. The state budget did come out from the governor in his State of the State. So just a few things. Now, of course, this is not definite, it is not final, so I want to make sure that that is clear. But that is why we need everyone to be aware of what the governor is proposing. Okay, so the governor is decided that we need, hang on, so I'm going to go through some talking points. So the Faculty Council of Community Colleges has sent out some talking points. I posted them on the Senate page, and there's also a letter for advocacy to send to our legislators on our, to advocate for our behalf as a community college. But with that, I want to say that we cannot use school printers, school phones, or any of those means, or computers. It has to be done at home because any political action work done by us as individuals is not sponsored by the college. I did post a suggested letter that can go out to our legislatures, which of course does not mean you have to use the entire thing as is. You may tweak it to whatever suits you and how you function in the college, how you work with our students. But essentially, our community colleges need a stable floor of funding. So all community colleges would receive less state funding next year than they received this year if the executive budget was adopted. The community college sector requests a statutory change that would establish the floor of funding so each community college receives next year what they received in this current budget. Fixed costs on our campuses do not decrease, and needs of the student body and workforce development programs create new demands. So a couple of other things that we need is, although full-time enrollment has declined, part-time enrollment is stable or high across the community colleges, meaning that we often serve the same number of students with less state support because the FTE funding formula is enrollment dependent. So they do not take our part-time students into account with that. County sponsors are limited by tax caps, and their contributions have flattened, which we all know. Community college student tuition continues to increase to make up for declining state support, which we also know is not a good thing for our students. And then community colleges receive half the funding per pupil as K-12 and the state op campuses. So right now, I do know that SUNY is devoted to advocating for us at the state for what we need with our stable funding, but this is also something that we need to do as individuals and teachers and advocates for our students and for our institution. Some of the things that we're asking for are additional funds for campuses that grow enrollment that would benefit from an FTE increase of $100. There is also less money given for child care support. So we're hoping to ask to restore $2 million for community college child care centers. And then the other thing, if we're writing or talking to any of our local politicians, to make sure that we do thank them for their hard work to get us the budget that we had this year and all their work from last year, and that we want to try to move forward with that. Just double check. So on the Senate site, I do have a list of legislatures that are in your area that you can write to. We also know that primaries are coming up, and a lot of us run into our local state legislatures and things like that. So feel free to bring up Erie Community College and what our needs are for our students to help service them better. But again, just a reminder, that has to be done on your home computer, on your home printer, and with your home phone or cell phone. You cannot use school resources for political action. All right, so that was the state budget. And then I know Dr. Hakoy is going to do a couple other things, so I'm going to stay away from those, but I just want to welcome Trustee Jeff Stone is here. He's one of our new trustees for the Board of Education. He joined us. Thank you, Jeff. And then we also have our new purchasing director, Judson Page, who has joined us, and he's back there in the back. So, okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Hakoy.
Find it.
I know, I don't see it.
Lower right. Thank you very much. Welcome to the February College Senate. I first wanted to have our newest trustee, Jeff Stone, come up and say a few words. Let's give him a round of applause for coming to our College Senate and for everything he does.
Hi, everyone. I am very glad to be here. Coming to a Senate meeting was part of what I wanted to do to continue learning about the college and integrating myself into what goes on here and trying to bring a good sense of what is happening to the decision-making we do at the Board of Trustees. I was lucky I got to sit next to a 50-year faculty member, so congratulations to you again for the convocation. I was at the convocation, and I enjoyed meeting some of you there and across, and as I've gone along the trail, getting to know some of you better. So just wanted to be here, let you know who I was. I live in Grand Island. I've been working at Hodgson Russ for about 35 years downtown, a large law firm. And I do public finance work, so my practice is in bonding and helping with public infrastructure projects. So what I hope to bring to the board is a sense of engagement and hopefully good decision-making skills that'll work to the benefit of everyone here and for the college. So I'm open to input on any and all subjects. I'm sort of a lifelong learner kind of person, so I would be glad to talk to any of you as concerns or plaudits are involved. I do think you have some terrific leadership, especially Chairman Lenahan. I think is a guy I've worked with for a long time, and I think you're in good hands with him leading the board. So we're all open on the board. I speak for my fellow trustees, and I thank Colleen and Dan for the nice welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh. Let me see. Let's figure this out. So I thought I would begin with an update. Great. So this is a wrap-up of the 18-19 budget. In terms of revenue, we were 1.5% lower than what we budgeted. And with regards to expenses, we were 1.41% lower than budgeted. The net result is that our actual revenue to actual expenses was less than 0.1% on a $110 million budget. And so that is within roughly $100,000, which is really difficult to do. So let's give a round to Penny and her staff for being able to manage the budget so closely, wherever she is. With regards to the 1920 budget, just wanted to give you an update on spring enrollment. Currently, that is as of Saturday morning, our head count is 9,204. That's as of Saturday morning. Our budgeted was 9,969. So the difference is 765 heads. So our spring projected headcount deficit is actually less than that because of advanced studies, right? So advanced studies is currently budgeted to add 369 students to that headcount by roughly mid-March of this year. So, given the minus 394 to budget headcount, we are expecting a year-to-date revenue gap of roughly $750,000. But we will close that gap with the following factors. One is we have spent, point in time, $900,000 less. Secondly, we also received $250,000 from the county, an increase in our MOE, and we are expecting summer tuition revenue to be slightly over $3 million. So, and Paula is working very hard to actually bump that number up. So we feel, as we've done last year, that we will be able to manage that deficit moving forward. What we're doing for next year's budget is we're building a concise projection model. So we want to start using relevant data for prediction purposes. Instead of anticipating something large or too small, that we're going to use very, very real data when we make that projection. As Colleen mentioned, with regards to our state funding floor, in the governor's initial budget, the funding floor was not in it. Now, I've been on the phone with SUNY almost every day, and it's looking like we are anticipating, fingers crossed, but that the floor will be established for fiscal year 21. Now, as you know, this is a back and forth negotiations with the governor's office, and we feel fairly confident that it will be reinstated. Also, just last week, I attended the Buffalo Niagara Partnership advocacy meeting, and so Crystal People-Stokes, Kathy Hochul, Tim Kennedy, you know them all. And it's good to know that our Regional Chamber of Commerce, that their recommendation with regards to higher ed investments, their very first point is increased operational and capital support for Western New York SUNY institutions and increased TAP support and expanding income inequality, or eligibility. So it's good to know that we have the business community supporting us in terms of advocacy. All right. Okay, is Fabio here? No. No, okay. All right, that's right. Just a reminder that our self-study is due August 2021. It'll come a lot quicker than you think. And at convocation, I laid out what happened when we weren't prepared to do it properly. We have 8 work groups already formed, and we will have our liaison officer, Sean McKittrick, will be coming later this month. He will be meeting with our board members as well as our steering committee, and we look forward to meeting with him and having a fresh start for our self-study. Let me see. Oh, new Ventive system update link to staff newsletter. Are you going to do this, Colleen? I can. Okay.
I lost it.
There you go.
Here it is.
Are you going to talk about it?
No, we can talk about it. I'm just going to show them where it is.
Okay, so the new Ventive, the new Ventive platform will be launched effective February the 12th. There you go. How do I get back to that? Okay, go back to my.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
There.
okay, all right. It's a little small, right?
I know I couldn't.
Yeah, okay, it's all right. All right, well, I'm just going to move ahead then. Where is that? Okay, there it is. Okay, so the last point was that Paula wanted to update you in terms of our website. The design concept now is available for you to review. So there is a feedback link in the staff newsletter. So we want to hear from you what you think of our new website. Again, oh, there's our student officer. Hey, thanks for coming. please give us feedback, because I think this will be the most important thing in terms of marketing and addressing any questions you have with regards to how we're attracting students. So it's important that you look at this design concept and give feedback so we can change it to accommodate what you think is best in terms of attracting and serving students. So anyways, this is your opportunity to provide feedback. That's all I have. Any questions? Any of that? Paula, did you want to say anything else?
So one thing that did come up already, just so you're aware, the link that is in the staff newsletter will take you to our webpage, which has the feedback form on it. There is a link to the design of the site right on that page. So you're going to want to go to actually take a look. So where it says view the design, Colleen. This page is not a live page. This is a JPEG version of it, so you guys could get a sense of the look and feel of the site. And the idea here is that we want you to look at it at the eyes of a student who's coming to our website for the first time, and give us the feedback of what you're seeing there that maybe we might have missed. This is not an active site right now. The menus are not active. We still have a lot of work to do on the content portion of it, as well as building out the menus completely, but this is where we are in design concept form. So this is why we want to get some feedback at this point in time from you guys from that perspective. And then a lot of the groups will be hearing from my department as we set up content meetings in the next couple of months, because we're going to spend a lot of time going through the content that's on our current website to try and consolidate some of that down, and look for redundancies. So feel free to give me any thoughts that you have today, but we're really kind of going away from what we've done in the past and going to something a little bit more progressive, and hopefully you'll have some good thoughts on it.
Great. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Dr. Hakoy. Okay, so we're going to move right into old business, and we have a SUNY Guided Pathways update. Andy Anisi is not available, but I can talk to it quickly. So we're in the middle of our second cohort, or we're in the second cohort. We're in the second institute for Guided Pathways. So we're working on what it looks like for us at SUNY Erie, and a lot of it overlaps with some of the things that we're working on with the new website. So there's been it was a full-day webinar from SUNY, but we broke it up over 3 days, 3 Fridays. The last one is this Friday, and it's going to be at North Campus. And then once we get all of the feedback from everyone that participated in these workshops, we're going to put it all together and send it out, and then start our work for the next institute, which is in April. Dr. Scheidt, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I would just share that the focus of we're working on examples that focus on academic clusters of majors as one of the concepts, and on examples of what academic roadmaps look like from the Guided Pathways perspective. That's what these 3 weeks have been focused on. So we're getting to see how our programs would look if we looked at them through their lens.
Great, thank you. Okay, so next up is the adjudication committee. So as you'll recall, we had a request for that last November and December. I have heard from the Dean of Students Office. Katrina's unable to come today, but we are going to have a meeting on the books with the Senate Executive team to answer all the questions that the body had regarding that from last November. So we'll have updates for that for you in March. And then Paul Amon has been stuck in Workday nonstop, as has many of our team. But so I rearranged the agenda a little bit because I know that he has to go back to Workday training as well as some other people. So we had a scheduling resolution in December. I'll pull that up quickly, but we also, when we were at the Senate Executive Committee, we came up with some some bullet points that address pieces of the resolution, but also some ideas to move forward. And Paul, I'm going to call on you to do that while I pull up the resolution.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. I'm not sure that everyone in this room is aware of how busy we are doing Workday, but if you were to be part of that session, all the student services people are embedded in it at this point in time. They're asking us to put in 20 to 30 hours a week in and above our jobs in order to get this, so that in the fall of '21, we're in Workday totally. If you look at the fall of '21, in order for us to be in the fall of '21 with Workday, students are going to start registering March, April. That may seem easy, except that we're building a whole new schedule in a whole new ERS system. So that changes how we do business. In the meantime, we're still trying to keep fall and spring going as best we can. So you'll notice on the agenda there we had a little earlier turn-in time frame. We all realized that the date that was signed off was March 6th. We were asking those of you that can, departments along with deans, get your schedules into the to get us into the registrar's office as soon as it is close to 100%. We can always tweak it. We can tweak it later on when we do proofing, but if we want to open up registration by the end of March, or at the latest the beginning of April, which is fully 3 to 4 weeks before we've done it before, we need to have the schedules in. The offices are down in staff, plus the other staff is deep embedded in Workday. So that's one reason. You'll notice also on there we had some discussion about the development of the Spring '21 schedule. Now normally Spring '21 we'd be doing it, September, October of next year. And we will be doing it then based on the time frame. But if we can get cooperation, I put this memo out about a month ago to ask if we could probably try to do something unorthodox, and that would be once we finish the fall schedule, proofing's done, ready to registration, we would be willing, the offices, the registrar's offices, to get that information out to you to build a preliminary schedule for the spring of '21. The reason I say that is because to build fall of '21 in Workday, we will have to, if you look at our timeline, have to have that schedule built, tested, and ready for students by March, which means it involves all the departments, which I'm not sure people are aware of the fact that your business process will change as well. So that's all out there, and I wanted to get that on the table as quickly as we could. We would appreciate, number one, the schedules being in as early as you can get to us. The other thing on the agenda was a little later on. I'll get to that now, only because the NAs are extremely important to the business we do at the college. Without processing the never attends in a timely manner, it affects students directly. That one course that was left on their schedule out of 5 that has a student still in the class, they're able to receive their financial aid. Then at the end of the term, when they come back to us and they say, hey, I never attended, the problem is they might have been sent money by then, or in their Pell or their TAP, whatever, which they have to return. And the students say, why do I have to return it? I was never there. We get into all those kinds of discussions over the course of a semester. So processing your NAs, and we have all the rosters. I'm sorry, we don't have all the rosters because we don't do rosters, but we do flag them in Starfish. If you haven't flagged somebody in Starfish and you do want to never attend them, just let us know by email. We'll be glad to take care of it, and we'll take care of it for you. Okay? Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the Workday, I'd be glad to help you out with. But like I said, if you don't see us in the offices and our memos and emails aren't being answered as quickly as you would like, it's because we're probably 24/7 in Workday.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And then just to reiterate that, so I know the report for Starfish for the never attendance closed on Sunday. So if you were like me, sorry, Paul, and didn't get to it, instead of printing out the rosters and highlighting and writing the NA physically, you can just email your campus registrar, tell them your course, your section number, and the names of the students that you would like to NA from your course. So it's still possible if you missed the deadline. So, Paul?
One more point. If you NA a student and they come back to you later on, and you do want to let them back in, it's not a problem. We can always put them back in, but it's easier to do it that way than the other way because there's no financial aid implications.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you, Paul. I know we're trying to use all of his information as quickly as we could because I know he's got to scoot. But we also still have the revised resolution on scheduling up on the board there. This was approved at the December meeting, and I know that there are some people here that also still wanted to add to the discussion regarding this scheduling resolution. Does anybody have any other comments or question regarding this resolution? Mary?
I guess I'm just still wanting an answer as to why, what the rationale was, is to not schedule classes so they don't have to cancel classes. I still don't understand that logic, and I was hoping maybe we got some feedback on that. Because to me, it's just like canceling them in advance.
Thank you. Dr. Scheit?
Yeah, we want to decrease the number of classes that are canceled 4 days before the semester starts because that is really disruptive to a student who's arranged their work and child care schedule. For example, last fall we canceled 250 sections on the Thursday before the class started. Last spring we canceled 100 sections. So for all of those students who found out on Friday before their classes began that they needed to rearrange their schedule, we felt that that wasn't a student-centered approach. And so by making a more conservative schedule based on the previous year's enrollment, we could hopefully land with a schedule that would minimize cancellations to minimize the impact on students. In fact, so we did that for the first time this fall, asking the deans and the departments to look at last spring's enrollments and estimate the sections plus the number of seats needed plus a certain percentage for wiggle room, and they did that. The good news is we were very, of course, with all of the things we were doing to improve what we do, you never know the first time if there are going to be concerns. One metric that tells me it wasn't the end of days is that our persistence, the number of students, the percent of students who were here in the fall, who came back this spring, went up by 1.6%. So our students were more able to return from fall to spring this year than they were last year. So the impetus for creating a more conservative schedule was to minimize cancellations because of the impact on student schedules.
Thank you. Greg? Got to hit the button. Hit the button.
Okay. These newfangled things. We typically take in a lot of students at the last minute. I always thought we were like a last-minute registration school. And if I'm trying to get a welding program going, we're off to a slow start. If I went by last semester's, I would have had to cancel the class, but I waited and didn't cancel it, and we only have one empty seat. So I think we have to have some, when we look at this stuff, we have to use some common sense. And in the technologies, we've been asked to market, and I think Penny knows, that a program that students come in and take all evenings because they're working during the day. So we're in the process of doing that, except a lot of the classes are sequential, so they have to have it. And even if we have low enrollment, I think some semesters we have to run the class. I'm not in favor of canceling the thing 4 days before classes start. And do we have any numbers of how many students actually sign up the last few days?
It's like our numbers guy is not here today. Dr. Scheit?
I'll just say that, yes, of course, we have a great number of students who sign up during prep week and even during the first week of classes. And that's the institutional wisdom that department chairs and deans already have. So they're not just automatically using a computer to cancel classes based on the number enrolled, but there's a sensibility that during those last 2 weeks, we may get 20 to 30% of our enrollments but we always get 20 to 30% of our enrollments. We know that, and we remember last year. And so we are responsive to that. And one of the endpoint metrics, when we look back on how we're doing, is on a campus-wide level as well as on a program level, what are the percent seats enrolled in that program? How are we doing? We obviously do not want to turn away a student, and that's why if it's a course required for graduation and there's 2 students in it, we're going to find a way to make sure those students can take that course and graduate. It's not only a numbers-based game. It is a student-centered approach to offering our programs, and so it does rely on common sense and the judgment and the conversations between the chairs and the deans to, triangulate on what is optimal to serve our students.
Thank you. Derek?
I'll just speak for my department. We have always done demand-based scheduling. And if you look at the periods of time, our courses have gone down, 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 down each period. We've been pretty good at it. But we look at the numbers at the end of add drop week as the numbers that we're targeting. How many students filled our classes the day after add drop? My understanding is that some calculations are using the numbers at the end of the semester. And I would argue that the numbers at the end of add drop, the peak numbers, are what I call the pay numbers. Those are the numbers we earn our income on. So if we schedule based on numbers at the end of the semester, and there's going to be, 10% students who are going to try to get into that class in the first week, but they can't get in because we used the end of semester number rather than the beginning of the semester numbers, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, I would argue. It's unwise. Anyone who pays attention to our income, we should be targeting the numbers that pay, not these theoretical numbers at the end of the semester. The other thing is we also watch our enrollments when we do demand-based scheduling, and we cancel classes weeks before the semester starts if we're not feeling comfortable with the way the enrollment is working. And that gives, like for the fall, it gives, we might have, 4 or 5 weeks before the semester starts to give students an opportunity to find another class. Because we don't want to be hanging out there with too many classes.
Thank you, Derek. Jason?
In support of Derek's comments, in our department, we have cut approximately 30% overall in the unit over the past 5 years. And spring 19 to spring 20, we were cut at South Campus by 28%. And this is what? To account for a 10% drop in enrollment. As Derek said, we've tried to keep that tight throughout those years. We always look at past numbers. Drop add numbers, if you don't have the numbers at drop add, you have even less numbers, fewer numbers when you get to the end of the semester, because there's a huge leakage, and in some cases, it's over 10% between end of drop add and end of semester. And so if we base our scheduling on end of semester, we are continuously under scheduling. And our unit has lost, we are down in enrollment more than the overall college enrollment. Our percentage of that has gone down, and our percentage per campus has gone down. And yet there isn't a degree at this college that has changed its social science requirements. So I think we're being cut to the point where we aren't even offering enough so that students can put a schedule together. And so Erie County ends up paying other counties for students who can't make their schedules here.
Alonda? You can use this one.
I feel like I'm always leaning. I remember this spot. I would have to agree. I hear both arguments. As far as a student representative, I would have to say I am a social science major as well, and I'm proud to be a social science major. But I would like to say that I understand past practices and I understand where declinement has taken us. However, we have we are working a lot more diligently to partner with our faculty, partner with our staff, and under student engagement. And we're hoping that by doing that, immediate progress is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic. But we have to look at it long term. One of the major complaints that come into my office from male and female is childcare. I was about to say healthcare. It's that too. But it's childcare and making sure that our students are able to know that they can be in class and know that their child is taken care of properly. One of the major complaints that I have is we don't have time to study. I had a student that had to come into my office last night at 7:30 at night. My office should be closed, but I stay for my evening students at 7:30 at night just so she could study for 2 hours. And she's a social science major as well as a human service major, or certificate program. But nonetheless, that is a major, major hurdle that we have to overcome. In addressing that, student engagement, we have to address that, and we have to do that by developing partnerships with our students. Why are they dropping? Can we really hear the honest truth? I know I have a professor now. The workload is astronomical. My brain feels like it's going to explode, but he's a great professor. He is a really, really good professor. So I would be shooting myself in the foot to drop him now. And I do have that flexibility. So that's the thing. Can you customize some of your programs to fit the needs, the specialized needs of your students? You have that ability. How flexible are we? And so that's my only question. That's my statement. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Yolanda. Derek?
I just want to point it out regarding our online offerings. We feel pretty good if we can get about 90% capacity. About 90% of the seats are taken, and that's a pretty good place to be. If we're getting about 80% and seated, that's a pretty good place to be. And we're 98% enrolled in our online offerings. There was not enough slack in that schedule. We cut too much. I'm sure there's students who ended up taking courses they didn't want to take, but they had to get together a schedule. So we end up distorting what they end up doing because it's all that's left. And I think we were much too tight. And actually, the beauty of online is we can add courses and drop courses. They're synchronous, and so we could be much more flexible on distance learning than we can with seated courses.
Sabrina?
I like that phrase that Derek just used there, students taking courses they don't want to take. I think our thinking is a little bit too driven by what the student has to have in order to graduate, and it's kind of overlooking the fact that this is a society driven by convenience, that if a student has to take a course at a time that is inconvenient, that's the course they stop attending. If a student has to take a course that they don't like, that's the course they stop attending. There were not enough humanities and social science electives for students to have a good choice last semester, and the students that I ended up advising took things that were really inappropriate, like a student who the only humanities course she could fit was a piano course, and she's never touched a piano in her life and has no real musical interest.
Thank you. Jason?
I was just going to add that we've seen our capacities go up, and I understand that's one of the things we're trying to achieve, but at the same time, the number of seats filled is going down. And it seems to me, because we're offering less, that's the only reason our capacity is going up. And so if we want students to attend our classes, and that seems to be where our revenue comes from, then to put too strong of an emphasis on capacity is not really accomplishing what we need. We need to have the seats available for students to be in them. So yes, capacity is going up, but the number of students we're serving is going down, at least from our unit's perspective.
Thank you. Would anyone else? Michael?
No, just kind of a housekeeping type thing. I did want to mention that this resolution that we're looking at right now was passed by a majority vote of the Senate at our last Senate meeting. Traditionally, with a resolution that asks for something specific, would you mind going to the first resolve, please? This resolution had a very specific request in it. Traditionally, that, resolution would go to the president of the college, and some kind of response would be understood. In our bylaws, it actually says within 10 days. It doesn't have to be a response from the president personally, but perhaps it can be passed to the appropriate person in the administration who would make that response. I'm just wondering if we have a response to the resolution we passed in December.
We have not had a response yet. Dr. Hakoy and I discussed it prior to today's meeting, about 5 minutes before today's meeting. And it seems there was a misunderstanding of where it should go from there, but I believe we worked it out, and we're going to move forward with where the appropriate response would come from. Jason?
Just one last thing. It just reminded me with the clear and consistent set of guidelines. We're hearing conflicting things about what we should be targeting in the fall schedule. Some of it is just X percent needs to be cut out, and that isn't clarified whether it's sections or seats or capacity. Otherwise, we're looking at overall capacity in the department. So I'm not sure which is actually being proposed. I don't know what our targets are, and I don't know if anybody else is confused about this, but it seems like we're getting conflicting answers.
Right. From what the feedback I've received since December, and then, of course, until today, is that different departments do it differently, different divisions do it differently, and when people from different divisions talk to one another, they say, well, we were told to cut 10% across the board. We were told this. So there's conflict between, and how come you guys get to do this and we have to do this? So I want to say that the overwhelming feedback that I received is that there should be very clear, concise directions, very specific and consistent across all divisions and departments is the major feedback that I'm receiving. Greg?
Again, why? I mean, I'm in engineering technologies, so I think that my problems aren't the same as the ones in social science. I think we have different considerations. So I don't know why everything has to be the same.
Jason?
I don't think everything does have to be the same, but at least within liberal arts, there ought to be a common standard. Because we put an enormous amount of work into putting these schedules together, and if we put that work in with the wrong target in mind, then we've just wasted all that effort. And if we just have clarity, we know what to do then, and I don't think we have that now.
Right. Because for those that are not aware, liberal arts falls between two divisions. So they fall under two different deans. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I will be working with Dr. Hakoy and Dr. Scheit with coming up with a response to the request of the Senate body with this resolution, and hopefully we will have more clear and concise answers for everybody in March. Okay, there is a placement task force update. Michael Rio, did you want to discuss that? Or I could?
So we have a recommendation from the task force. If you want to speak to the math recommendation, English and math. Yeah, English and math. We met on opening day convocation. We presented a recommendation to the Senate from the task force. The document is included. And what we're looking to do is find ways to streamline placement so it aligns with curriculum. And from the English side, we're looking at opportunities for students to make well-informed directed self-placement decisions for their first-year composition course sequence. And that would involve using an online placement tool that is developed and administered through Boise State University, and it's called the Write Class. and it will allow students to, again, make informed decisions about placement, and they will be given recommendations through data that they're providing, right? So based on high school scores, GPAs, and an algorithm will offer a recommendation, and then there will be an opportunity for a writing sample and a reading assessment that students will complete.
Great. Brian, did you want to address the math? This is Brian Millville. He's our CWCC chair as well as math department.
On the math side, we're looking to move into, and we don't have the details worked out yet, we're hoping to pilot a couple of co-requisite sections for fall 20. But we're looking to move towards a co-requisite model that will be in conjunction with developmental mathematics or in place of developmental math. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. Dave Uzinski is the chair of the placement task force. He was doing other committee work today. He's a very busy man, but he also wanted me to let everybody know that the math department will be reaching out to advisors in the next 8 weeks or so to, once we have all the details ironed out about the co-requisite model, and advisors will get more information forthcoming. Does anyone have any questions on either of those recommendations coming from mathematics or English? Okay. Okay, our governance committee has been very busy. Michael?
Are we introducing this as a motion to approve, or is this just informative?
I think one's informative and one's to be approved, right? Hang on. That's not it. Hang on. Hang on, time out. I got kicked out. What else is new? We should start a bet to see how many times I get kicked out of the portal. Okay, so we have a bylaw change
Oh,
that
I'm
is
sorry,
in
for the
motion.
placement task force.
Oh.
I believe we introduced that for a vote, but if, I don't know what Dave reported, if he wants to postpone that to the March meeting.
I think Dave's just wanted it as informative right now.
Thank you.
So that was for the placement task force recommendations. So we're not voting on it as a body right now. They are recommendations coming down, and as information develops, they'll come out. But right now, those decisions are within the English and the mathematics departments. Okay, so governance is next, and we have a couple of proposed bylaw changes. I'll throw up the first one here, and Michael Rio is our governance chair. We discussed this in December, and per our bylaws, we have to show everyone at least once 30 days before we vote on it. And in red here are the proposed changes that governance was asking for.
So we'll be making a motion to approve this bylaws change today, and it is moving the election process for the Faculty Council of Community Colleges delegates to the Senate election cycle. Previously, it had been overseen by the Faculty Federation. So those involve changes to Article 9 in the elections bylaws.
Great. Michael, would you like to move that motion?
Yes.
John Dana, second. Thank you. Is there any discussion on the matter? Questions? Okay, so we'll move forward with the vote. All in favor, raise your hand, please. Those opposed? What's the other one? Neutral? Neutral? I can't remember the word. Abstain. Thank you. I'm like, what is that word? Math. Okay, and 3 abstentions. Okay, and the motion passes. I just kicked myself out that time. Okay, we have a proposed bylaw change. regarding elections. And again, we did discuss this in December, but at the time, we were still working on clarifying things. So, Michael, did you want to talk about this one?
Well, we were hoping to move this, make a motion to vote on this amendment as well, or bylaws resolution change. This is also a recommended change in the election process. We would like to move the elections to College Day, and this would move up the nomination process a month ahead, so we would be collecting nominations in February and have our elections in March. This allows for an opportunity to run the at-large elections on a separate cycle, which we had added last year, and it gives us an opportunity to introduce electronic voting as we develop those methods, but voting would happen at a polling place during College Day.
Okay, so again, this was something that we did look at and discuss in December. So I would like to have a motion
A motion to approve.
to approve. Thank you. John Dana, thank you. And Jack Braun, thank you. Okay, so any discussion on the proposed bylaw change? Okay, all in favor? Those opposed? Abstentions? And the motion passes. Okay. Michael?
I just wanted to ask a question. I didn't raise my hand quickly enough previously. This is not saying that all voting shall take place exclusively on College Day, is it?
It's saying March.
It's saying March. Okay, so there will be an opportunity for people to vote not during College Day, correct?
Michael Rio?
There is language in that bylaws change that allows for request of absentee ballots, and those employees and faculty of the college that may be part-time and not required to attend College Day will be able to vote using another process.
Greg?
Yeah, okay. And the third part said part-time faculty.
Go up.
And all elected center in the first part says they'll represent their So who is the constituency for part-time faculty if they teach in several different departments?
It's by division. So, for example, we don't have a senator for mathematics. I fall under liberal arts, as well as Erica, as well as other people. So we have the liberal arts, we have technologies. They're all, it's by division.
So our division is technology division. We have instructors who teach there that are actually not in our division.
Right. Well, part-time faculty have their own category for the Senate. Michael Rio?
Part-time faculty are at-large representatives,
Okay.
college-wide.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, so with this, that means we can go forward with a call for nominations?
Yes.
And there it is. Do you want to?
Okay, so this call for nominations identifies seats that will be asking for nominations for these seats. We will contact incumbent senators, and there seems to be, I think there should also be a counselor seat on that list, but
Counselor seat missing.
we can accept nominations. Please send them to the website senategovernance@ecc.edu, and you can nominate yourself or you can nominate someone, but please let that person know you're nominating them.
Okay, so as far as the call for nominations, if there is a slash with a campus, then it has to be somebody from that campus that is specified. If there is not a campus specified, that is college-wide. And again, as Michael pointed out, counselors, there is one counseling position on there that didn't make it to the list. When I send out my email on Thursday, I will update this list and make sure I include the counseling position. And that is also, again, college-wide among all of the different areas that our counselors help our students. Okay. And there it is. So when we send this out as well, there is a hyperlink on here with where you can do your nominations. Okay, thank you, governance. They've been really busy since December. Michael, anything else to add
We
to the
have one
report?
more report to submit and a motion to introduce a bylaws change. We are required to report the census results, and I submitted a motion for
When did you submit that?
last month, but that's okay. It may have gotten lost in all the email threads. It was resubmitted this morning. It should be near the top of that list.
Let me see if I added it. Nope. Hang on a second. Is it the census results division totals?
Correct. It's
That's a motion?
well, there's a bylaws change recommended. It will require a change for Article 5 so that we can correct the faculty ratio of representatives on the Senate.
One second. All right, there's the division totals. I feel like we should have a musical interlude.
Well, it's a pretty straightforward bylaws change. I could very briefly describe what it is we're asking to do in this bylaws change, with permission
Yes.
from the chair.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
Michael, go ahead.
what we're asking is that the Senate bylaws require that 60% of the seats be filled by faculty members. With a drop in faculty by division, we drop below that 60%. And so in Article 5, Section 1B.2, faculty representation is based on one representative for every faculty member within each campus division. Correct, one for every 15. Oh, I'm sorry. And in order to make that 60%, if we drop that representation to one for every 12 faculty members, the proposed total on the right-hand column shows the shift in the representation. So what would happen is the faculty would pick up a seat in liberal arts north, south, and city, and business public service south. Without the correction, we will fall below 60% and lose a seat in liberal arts south and business public service south. It's an equitable adjustment, and it's just a retallying of the distribution of faculty across the campuses for representation at the Senate.
I got it. Okay. So, thank you, Michael. So this is the proposed bylaw change. So right now, this will be something that we vote on in March, but this is up for discussion currently. John Dana?
Michael Rio has done an awful lot of work on the governance committee, a lot. He should be recognized for it.
Oh, I agree. He's been very busy, making sure we get all of our stuff together. Okay. So, Michael, I feel that you described this perfectly, and now I have it up here for anyone to read. It is now posted. Does anyone have any other discussion points or questions about why this is necessary? Okay. Good? We good? Okay. So we'll send this out. It is up on the Senate site. Mull it over, think about it. If you have any comments between now and March, that is your opportunity to come forward and discuss it with myself, Michael Rio, anything like that. We'll have a faculty caucus of the Senate meeting at some point in between, so you can bring it up then as well. Okay, so we have a task force for meta majors in guided pathways with Joanne Komarauer is the chair of that. She's unable to be here today. Is there anybody from that committee present that would like to report on that, or we're just gonna move right along. And then one other thing under old business, it's mainly Erica and I had to watch the October stream to make sure that we had this date correct, because it's on several calendars for our April meeting for 3 different dates. So if you recall, with the calendar change, the second Tuesday in April is now during our spring break. So if we had moved the meeting to April 7th, that would conflict with CWCC, which would wipe out about like a third of the people here. So we moved it to the third Tuesday, which is the 21st. So again, just a reminder, because if your calendar is like Erica and myself, I had something every week. So April 21st. Okay, under new business, Paul already spoke on behalf of why it's important for our students for the three-week rosters and NA. And next up, we have a creation of a task force on student expectations, and that came from our provost's office. Dr. Scheid, I'll invite you to the microphone while I pull it up for you.
Sure. I think triggered by the very good work of the group of people who worked on the online Student Bill of Rights and the process of revising that. I understand it took 3 semesters to come to consensus and approval through our various shared governance bodies. There's an interest in having a somewhat analogous, and I'm using air quotes here, a Bill of Rights for all students. And when you look at the existing Bill of Rights for all students, there's a section on what students can expect and what the college can expect from students, or what students are expected, their responsibilities. So this would be the right place to have a task force to take that charge on to look at the online Bill of Rights that has so much work invested in it and attempt to adapt that to an all-student code. And for 2 reasons, in my mind, we don't want to use the term Bill of Rights for this all-student text. One is that SUNY has a student Bill of Rights that relates to, is it Title IX, sexual harassment or abuse or discrimination, and so it would be confusing to use the same term. And subsequently, when I read it, I see the word expect throughout a lot of the bullet points. And so I really thought that a better term for this might be student expectations. So what they can expect from the college and the faculty and staff they work with, as well as what they can expect to be expected of them. As you can see, the instructor has the right to expect. But so in executive, we had a discussion of what a task force should look like to take on the task of looking at our online Bill of Rights and adapting it to an all-student. So where it may say, you know, what the shell looks like online, what does that look like for an all-student that includes face-to-face as well as online? It may speak to the syllabus or some such. So in executive, the recommendation was a group looking like this, so I put that into the charge. So the motion is to create a Senate task force to adapt the online student Bill of Rights into student expectations appropriate for all SUNY Erie students, with a recommended membership to include this sort of a representative group.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion?
Oh, can I?
Sure,
Yes.
sure can. Okay, great. Second? Thank you, Jason. Okay, discussion on the motion. Questions on the motion? Okay, so I did include the online Bill of Rights that in its final format. If you, as Dr. Scheit pointed out, it did take 3 semesters to go back and forth. And because this is something that also implicates labor, this is not just within the House of the Senate. So this is also going to involve negotiation, well, not negotiation, but discussion with the Faculty Fed. So as we develop things within this task force, we will be working with the Executive Council of the Federation to make sure that all areas are appropriately done to facilitate for everybody, faculty, students, and everyone. So I just wanted to make sure I brought that out. And then the most current one, we approved this in April 18. So this was actually the second version than the most recent version that's out there. And it's also posted on the Senate site for your information. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve, no discussion. Those in favor? Okay, those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and the motion passes. So with this task force, I will be sending out the email on Thursday, but if you fall under one of these categories and you are interested specifically on working on this task force, please shoot me an email, talk to me after the meeting, anything along those lines, and we will use that information to develop the specific individuals that are on this task force. Yes? Oh. You need a microphone. Sorry. Go ahead.
New to this.
That's okay.
Do you have to be on the Senate to put yourself up to volunteer for that?
No, that is a fantastic point. You do not need to be a senator to participate in any of the activities of the Senate. So if at any point in time, anybody at home watching, if there's something we're doing and it really speaks to you, it's your passion, wow, that's really cool, I'd love to do it, quinn@ecc.edu. I'll put you on the list. I would love for more involvement outside of this. I'd like to not be on every committee, so if anyone wants to be on committees, just let me know. But yeah, no, absolutely. You do not have to be a senator to participate in things like this.
Thank you.
No, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you. Let's see, where are we? Okay. Oh, Michael, you're up.
Oh,
Faculty Council of Community Colleges. So there are 3 resolutions. Michael's going to speak to them that we've been asked to endorse from the Faculty Council of Community Colleges. And then you can see there the 2 of them speak specifically to the state budget or the governor's budget.
Yes, as most of you know, I have been the delegate to the Faculty Council of Community Colleges forever, which is a governance organization of the community college faculty within SUNY. It has absolutely nothing to do with my union work. People get confused about that. I would like to say that we intended to vote on these, I think, 2 meetings ago, and various things happened. So, one of them has to do with gender inclusivity, which is more than anything else calling for having a non-binary choice in terms of gender self-identification on college forms. And there it is, right there. Okay, and this and the other 2, by the way, have been endorsed by the shared governance bodies of almost all of the 30 community colleges within SUNY. I guess I'm wondering, I should talk about all 3 of them, and then you can vote on them separately or all together or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we can decide at
Okay,
that point. But yeah.
okay. There's one about new funding formula, which is essentially asking for the same thing that SUNY, that NYSUT, that the community college presidents and the boards of trustees and various other organizations within SUNY have been asking for, which is that there be a floor below which state funding will not drop, because the strictly enrollment-driven funding formula simply is not working and is causing steady decreases in state funding for all the community colleges. That's calling for a floor, and the third one has to do with restoring and hopefully increasing the funding for child care centers at the community colleges, which was, I believe, cut in half in the governor's office. One of the problems here with this particular budget item is it gets cut by the governor every single year and then typically gets restored back to where it was. So I don't think that it has had an increase in something like 10 years. So this is calling for appropriate funding of the child care centers. Not just a restoration of the previous funding. And so those are the 3 resolutions.
Great, thank you. Dr. Hokoy? You need a mic.
The resolution concerning the floor, it didn't actually state what percentage of the previous year's budget.
It actually said 100%. Yeah, it did.
I didn't see 100.
I think. No, it says 98%. Or $100 increase per FTE, whichever is greater. There it is.
All right, got it. The other, all right, that's fine.
Okay.
There it doesn't say.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it says.
Can I pipe in on this one?
It says 100% in the resolution.
Michael?
Yep. Yeah.
Can I pipe in on this one? So,
Sure, Paula.
Sorry, Colleen, I apologize. In my big mouth, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm not the chair, Paula.
Go ahead, Paula.
Thank you. So when SUNY was originally looking for us to do advocacy on this, they had requested from the college's end that we put it through at 100% or $100 per FTE, which is the resolution that we put through not only our Board of Trustees, but also through the Erie County Legislature. So the likelihood is it will go through at 98% this year, but the original request was for 100%.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have 3 resolutions that we've been asked to endorse. See, I guess we could say, what's your pleasure? Should we do them all together, or would you like to do them separate? What do you think? Do them together? All right, how about I'll ask this. Does anybody have, does anyone really want to do them separate? No one's going to judge you. Okay. So Greg?
I have a question on the first one.
Oh, sure. Well, let's get a motion to approve, and then we can talk about them.
Okay.
So Greg, do you want to
I want
make a
separate.
motion to approve all three?
No.
You want them separate?
Yep.
All right, Greg would like a motion to approve them separately. Anyone second that? Mary, thank you. Okay, discussion on separating. All right, so the motion on the floor is to separate the three resolutions. All in favor? Four, five. Those not in favor? Abstentions? Sorry, Greg, your motion doesn't pass. So we're going to take them all one at a time. So have a motion. What? Yeah, so we're going to do them all at once. Yeah. So I need a motion to take them all at once. Bill, or Tom. I'm sorry, Tom. Dorothy's got the second. All right, discussion on the three motions or resolutions. Greg, you had a question on one.
I do.
Okay.
The gender equity one,
Yep.
does that mean we open the bathrooms to everybody? Oh,
Nope,
I'm
that's not what
asking.
it
That's why
says.
I'm asking, Mike.
So the gender equity resolution is, in the spirit of inclusivity, requests that campuses revise applications for admission and any official campus student documents to include a gender non-binary option so that our students are not compelled to misidentify themselves at the very beginning of their community college education. So traditionally, there's two choices. There's male and there's female. So if someone does not identify as either one, by having a non-binary option, those students are not left out, and therefore we are including them. So it has nothing to do with facilities. It's just applications and forms at the college. Any other questions or discussion on either of the resolutions? Derek?
I'm on another board, and this issue came up, and most of the people on that board are my age, and we got whipsawed by the youngins. This is a real important issue for them, the 20-year-olds, and they were very passionate about it. And for us, we were like completely flabbergasted. We didn't know how important this was.
Mary?
This is more of a practical question, but what is this information used for? Reporting what?
Well, that Erie Community College supports the putting non-binary.
No. I mean, the question of gender at all. How is it being used by SUNY or by the college? I'm just wondering, is the question even necessary, is my question.
Well, Jackie?
If I go on Starfish and I look at my student profiles, I'm pretty sure I'm given a gender identity in that profile. So this would open up the other option for non-binary students.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry.
It would
Hang
open
on.
up the other option for non-binary students, which would be effectively showing our inclusivity.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, just to make an analogy, I understand your question. Yes, those categories are used for reporting data to SUNY, to the public, to the board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I do want to point out, for example, that students do get asked about their race, and they do have an option to basically choose none of the above or prefer not to say. When they're asked about their gender, they do not have that option.
That was what I was getting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill, you had a question? No, you're good. Phil?
I'm just reviewing our new application in Workday. I don't know if it has the functionality or capability of this. So I mean, before this resolution's passed, I don't there's not an option for gender identity on the application now, and I don't know if it's something that, we can't customize this application or make changes to it either. All our paper forms, we can put this in place, but our electronic app, which is about 75% of our applications, I don't think it has the capability.
Thank you, Phil. Michael?
Yeah, I don't think that voting to support this resolution implies that our particular college needs to make an immediate change if that is not practical or practicable. I think that it is basically a statement of support of the principle.
Right, and to speak, so I teach statistics and I collect data from my students. So in the past, because I do quantitative and qualitative, so gender is a qualitative item. So in the past, I said, you know, what is your gender, male, female, where I did not give that option. So what I did as an instructor is I just took off and left it blank. Fill in whatever you want to fill in. So that's how something that we can do in our classrooms, where you just make sure that you leave it open for students to respond in a way that's comfortable for them. Tom? You need the mic. You need the mic. You need the mic. You need the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thought it was loud enough, but I guess.
No, the stream doesn't pick it up if you don't talk in the mic.
Okay. So my question is then, this would provide for 3 options, male, female, and non-binary? Is there a possibility that maybe it should be male, female, non-binary, and just like race, I choose not to answer? So, but non-binary wouldn't say that to me. That would be, shouldn't we expand it? Or my belief was we should expand it to a 4th category that would include somebody not wanting to disclose.
Michael, can you talk into the microphone, please?
Sorry. Just saying, this option does not exclude Tom's option.
Right.
That's why I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you very much. Other questions or discussion points for either of these resolutions? Okay, so we're going to vote on them as a package deal, all 3. Those in favor? Those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and the motion passes, or all 3. So all 3 resolutions are hereby endorsed by Erie Community College. We will pass these along to the Faculty Council of Community Colleges to add Erie Community College to the list of community colleges across the state
And
that support.
was
Michael,
that- was-
yes, Michael?
I would do that. And was that a unanimous vote? Was it unopposed?
It was unopposed. There was 2 abstentions.
Okay, well, that's unanimous.
Okay.
No, it is.
Okay, okay.
Well,
No,
technically, I won't even mention that. Bye.
I'm sorry. All right, so that was a pretty packed agenda, and we made it through it with 5 minutes to spare. So with that, we're going to get a lot of snow again tomorrow, so I hope everybody is driving careful. Next week, I know faculty and students are off, so I hope you enjoy your time to recharge, even though it's like 3 weeks into the semester. Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to hold up the meeting, but
That's okay.
I was streaming and saw that you were talking about the new Nuventive platform, so I came over. Do you want me to mention anything about it or go through it really quickly?
Which platform?
The new Nuventive platform.
Oh, Nuventive? Sure.
It does go into effect tomorrow. It does affect how you log in, so it might be important, and quarterly updates are due this month, so.
Okay, great. And that was also on the marketing newsletter that Paula sent out earlier today, right? And so the website information is on there, as well as the Nuventive. There's bullet points, and there's some troubleshooting on that as well. Thank you. Michael?
I just want to mention that particularly if you are a senator, it is absolutely crucial that you sign in on one of the sign-in sheets up front. Otherwise, you will be considered to have been absent, and if you have enough absences, you get kicked off the Senate.
Right, that's the only way I'm allowed to kick people out. So just if you don't have a card, it's not because I kicked you out. It's because I forgot them and they're probably in my office or my kids did something to them. But so if you did not sign in, please on the way out, sign in so that we know that you're here. Even though I see you all here right now, I will forget tomorrow. So with that, happy 4th week of school before spring break and have a lovely week, everybody. Thank you.